Hello, everyone. I am so excited to introduce you to my dear friend and colleague, Marci Shimoff. Many of you know who she is, but more importantly, today is about getting you into the miracle zone as a thought leader, as an entrepreneur, and helping you stay there. Because as entrepreneurs, we want to manifest, right? We want to create. But if we don't take the time to learn the science of miracles, we end up getting into that burnout zone. So, Marci, I am just so thrilled to be here with you.
Oh, I love to be here with you too, Sage. We've had many wonderful and miraculous journeys together through life, and I love everything you do. So it'll be a fun conversation. It
Oh my
always is
gosh.
when we're together.
For those of you that don't know, Marci is the best-selling author, New York Times #1 best-selling author of many books, including the whole Chicken Soup for the Soul. She's co-authored 6 of those titles. She's the #1 best-selling author, New York Times, of Happy for No Reason. She's also, of course, a trainer and teacher in the movie that many of us watched years ago called The Secret. For almost 3 decades now, Marci has been inspiring millions of people around the globe to know that they can be and do more and have more. And I am among those. I am living my most miraculous life, in large part because I am friends with Marci and I absorb her wisdom anytime I can in her vicinity. And so I'm so honored to have you here today, Marci, to be in a little bit more of an intimate conversation, especially for those of us that want to create. We know we're here to change the world. We know we don't want to burn out. We know we don't want to hustle too hard. We know we want the universe at our back. How do we get into the miracle zone? And how did you come to be stepping into this teacher of the miraculous?
Well, first, let me just tell you the quick story about how I came to be teaching about the miraculous, because I am the least likely person on the planet to be teaching about the miraculous. I was born depressed. I grew up depressed. My solution to depression when I was a kid was sugar, which didn't help matters any. I became a sugar addict. I was about 35 pounds heavier when I was in high school than I am now. And so when I was in my 20s, Sage, I decided I was going to get happy. And I was going to get happy the way that I thought that we were taught to get happy. I set goals for myself, 5 of them. I'll tell a really quick version of this. I set 5 goals. They were to have a successful career helping people, a wonderful husband or life partner, a great, comfortable home, fabulous friends, and the equivalent of Halle Berry's body. Now, I got 4 out of the 5. I don't have Halle Berry's body, but I have a healthy body for which I'm grateful. And I worked really hard to get all my ducks in a row and get everything right, and then I'd be happy. And I had a turning point moment. In 1998, I had just given a speech to 8,000 people. I had 3 books in the top 5 on the New York Times list at the same time. I had given a speech to 8,000 people and autographed 5,432 books. I felt like an author rock star, should have been on top of the world. And I went to my hotel room after signing that last book, and I fell onto the bed and burst into tears because I still had that emptiness inside of me. And I said, I can't go further thinking that just the next shiny object is going to make me happy. I got to figure out how to get happy. And I did all the research on happiness, and I found out that there are certain things that people can do to be happy, and I practiced them, and it was a miracle. I became happy. I mean, really, it really worked. And that's why I wrote Happy for No Reason. Well, about maybe 10 years ago, I started waking up every morning going, oh my God, my life is miraculous. The people that are showing up at, my doorstep for lunch, or, the emails that are coming in that are exactly the answer to what I'm thinking about. It was like I was in this magical flow. And I realized that in the same way, there are habits that can make you happier. In the same way, there are habits that can put you in that flow, in that miracle zone. And so since then, I've been teaching about living in the miracle zone.
And there's no one better suited than you, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. But ever since we went clunking down the Amazon, gravel rooted out little path on a little bus getting into into the middle of Ecuador, where we could then get into a little plane and fly 500 miles past where any roads were, and watching you and listening to you talk about that everything that we want really is possible, and that we have to find this place where we're not pushing and we're not striving, but we're also not in inaction.
Right.
You said, Sage, your problem, she's like, there's no lack of taking action in me. But the thing that you introduced me to was that place where my action meets the spiritual and co-creates with the universe to create this kind of magic. And I've always known that. And that's what brought me to Ecuador in the first place. But you were able to give words to something that I knew. And so, how do you advise that we get into that miracle zone and harness that magic so that we don't end up in that hustle, self doubt, isolation, overwhelm that so many, I think, leaders can fall into
Yeah.
when we're not tapped in?
So, such a great question. And so, first of all, let me talk about what the miracle zone is and what a miracle is. The dictionary says that a miracle is a surprise and welcome event that can't be explained by science, that's often attributed to divine grace. So, we can't create miracles. But what we can do is we can create the conditions for miracles to flow into our life. We open to them. We open to receiving them. There are miracles everywhere, but most people are pushing them away. So the question is, how do I get myself into that miracle zone where I'm putting forth energy, but the universe is actually responding in a way that there's grace and ease? Years ago, I learned a formula from one of my coaches that I think I use it still to this day. It's a 3-step formula for manifesting, and I like it because it rhymes. It's simple, and it's intention, get clear about what you want, attention, put your thoughts, words, feelings, and actions into it, and no tension. Let go, allow, relax. Now, here's the interesting thing. Most people are really great at one of those. They're okay at a second one, and they really aren't very good at the third one. And I would venture to say, Sage, you and I probably are both really great at attention. We are a dog with a bone. We know how to put our energy in the right place. We're also pretty good with intention. We're clear about a vision and what we want, but we probably need a little work in the area of no tension, the area of trust, surrender, let go. That's where the universe meets you halfway. Now, some people are really good at the no tension, but they can't get the intention or attention together. We need all three to make them work. And here's what I've seen, and I've seen this in the work that I've done in the program that I teach, your Year of Miracles. I've seen this time and time again. We block ourselves from our miracles. We actually unconsciously are pushing away the miracles that are there for us. And one of the biggest ways that we push away our miracles is through not feeling worthy. A lack of self-love. And of course, it's subconscious. I mean, of course, on the surface, we'd all say, oh, but I'm worthy of all of this. But really, are we? Are we pushing away our good? And I'm going to tell you a quick little story about this because I think you'll appreciate it. And then maybe I'll give you a quiz to see if people are pushing away their good. Years ago, I was attending a workshop with then one of my favorite teachers, who's now a very dear friend of mine, Marianne Williamson. And I think it was in 1995. And in that workshop, Marianne said, if you make a lot of money, but you haven't raised your consciousness to feel worthy of that money, you will inevitably lose it. And I thought to myself, that would never happen to me. If I made a lot of money, I would never go and lose it. Well, sure enough, a couple of years later, I made a whole lot more money than I ever had had before. And it was amazing. These big chicken soup for the soul checks and all of that. And I had not raised my consciousness enough to feel worthy of that. And I started losing the money. This investment, I lost the money, then this investment. Now, fortunately, I remembered what Marianne said in enough time to stop that loss and to really work on my consciousness about willingness to receive. That's where it's at.
100%. I could not agree more. I've seen evidence of that over and over and over again. And I was just telling you before we got on the line, I just manifested the best relationship I've ever been in, the best romantic relationship I've ever been in. And I got really clear finally that I was worthy of having a man who wanted to move in with me right away, co-create a life right away, and actually be co-creating our mission on the planet together. We want to be co-creating. We don't just want to be romantic partners. And I met him a year ago in Maui, and he moved in last weekend. And we are beginning a life together. It happened that fast. Like, it literally was a few days before I met him that I finally sat down and said, I don't have to wait for someone to come in and want to actually co-create and co-manifest with me. If that's something that I want, I'm worthy of that. And the inner work had been building up and building up. And I've seen you do the same thing over and over ever since I've sat in your most magical space and met Sergio and all of the incredible components of your life. And so what would you say to somebody who's watching us and going, yeah, that all sounds great,
Yeah.
but how do I feel worthy? And, what do you say to the
So,
naysayer as we wrap up here?
yeah, so I got God bumps all over when you said about your relationship, Sage. I know it was divine grace that brought you together in the middle of nowhere. You weren't even planning to meet anybody. You were in Hawaii on vacation, and it was the
I
last thing
wasn't
you were
even
going to
planning
do.
on meeting anybody. I was showing my girlfriend how to use Bumble, and he popped up, and I told Marci this story a few days later, and she goes, "This has to be the one because this is the best story ever."
Truly.
It was so cute. And that's when we're in that no tension zone, like you're speaking to.
Yes, absolutely. It's really about being in that open state of worthiness and being and having prepared ourselves. You prepared yourself for your partner. You were prepared. You had done all your inner work, but you had opened then to letting the universe bring him to you in this most miraculous kind of a way. So I'm going to share with you a very, very simple quiz to see if you are subconsciously pushing away your good, and in small ways, because you've heard it said that when people try to give you something, you can only receive, they can only give you what you're open to receiving. It's the same with the universe. The universe is trying to give you something you can't receive. So we're going to practice our openness and receiving muscle. So here's the quiz. I want you to see what you answer to these questions. Number one, do you have a hard time accepting compliments? So somebody gives you a compliment. Oh, you did a great job on that. You say, oh, it was nothing. When in fact, you worked your tail off for it. You were really proud of it. Okay. Do you deflect or have a hard time taking in compliments? Number two, do you have a hard time taking in gifts? Do you have a hard time receiving gifts? If somebody gives you something, do you think you need to give them back twice as much? Number three, do you have a hard time asking for support? Asking for and receiving support. No, I can do this myself. It's okay. Oh, let me help you carry that. No, I can do it myself. Oh, let me help you figure that out. No, I can do it myself. Number four, do you have a hard time accepting things that come easily to you? Do you think you should have to struggle and effort in order for your good to come? Do you feel like it's kind of cheating if it flows in? Now, that, by the way, was one that was a really hard one for me, like really hard. Like, I had this belief that it should feel icky for it to come in and be good. And then the fifth one is, do you have a hard time appreciating and expressing what you have because you don't want other people around you to feel bad that they don't have it?
Mm-hmm.
We often try to dim ourselves and our experiences so that other people don't feel jealous or they don't feel hurt, whatever. We have to shine our light in the world, because not in a bragging kind of a way, but in a grateful, humble, and appreciative way. So if you said yes to any of those five, you are subconsciously pushing away your good. And what you want to do is notice the next time you start to do any of those. Take a deep breath and say, in this moment, how can I open up to receiving even more?
Mic drop. If you got value from this episode, I invite you to hit the subscribe button so that we can get you weekly business trainings in your inbox to help you grow your impact and your income the women's way. Head over into the Women Rocking Business Sisterhood Facebook group and introduce yourself there, because women go so much further when we go together. Just click the button to subscribe, and we will see you on the other side.